Nestled between the Ozark Mountains and the Delta in northeast Arkansas, Davidsonville was a hub of commerce and community. One of Arkansas's first thriving frontier towns, now a ghost of the past. But what happened to this once promising settlement? Davidsonville's creation. Our story begins long before the creation of Arkansas as a state in 1836. As early as the Archaic period and as late as the 18th century, Native American groups such as the Quapaw and the Osage used the land that Davidsonville sat on. Then, in 1803, Louisiana Purchase doubled the size of the United States. President Thomas Jefferson bought the 828,000 square mile territory of Louisiana from the French for $15 million. Expeditions into the area quickly began, as did the establishment of settlements. By 1804, a small French settlement was created in the area that would become Davidsonville, as people were drawn by land grants. The importance of the settlement dramatically grew after Lawrence County, Missouri, was established on January 15, 1815. At this time, the Missouri Territory included much of the northern third of present-day Arkansas. The circuit court met and selected the land that would become Davidsonville as the site for the first county seat, because it had access to a land route and rivers. Davidsonville was situated near a network of routes that connected the mid-Mississippi River Valley area of Missouri to the Red River Valley area of Texas, that created a diagonal path along Arkansas's northeast and southwest corners. This was known as the Southwest Trail. The trail at this time was little more than a footpath, but still it was used by travelers and traders in addition to water routes to access new areas. Speaking of water routes, Davidsonville had plenty. The town was situated between three, surrounded on three sides by the Black River, the Spring River, and the 11-Point River. Davidsonville's access to the Black River was especially important as it carved the town's western border and served as an important means of transportation and migration from the Missouri area into Arkansas. Black River connected Davidsonville to the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River connected Davidsonville to the United States and to the world. The land that would eventually become Davidsonville, still just that small French settlement, was purchased for $255 from 5 local settlers: Joseph Janis, John Faga, Cole Lacombe, Jerome Maddox, and Augustus Revett. In 1815, John Davidson, who was a North Carolina native, settled in the Davidsonville area, and the town was named after him, although records differ on whether it was before or after 1816, but he had formerly represented the town in the Missouri State Legislature. The first order of business in Davidsonville was the creation of the town jail. In an act passed by the General Assembly of Missouri in 1815, the jail was outlined as the first priority. The act stated, "And a courthouse and jail be erected according to the provisions of this act, and the proceeds of such sale or sales of land in the town of Davidsonville by the commissioners, after paying the purchase money or price of such land, shall be by them applied and appropriated for the first to the building of a sufficient jail, and the remainder, if any, towards the building of a courthouse." When archaeological excavation of the Davidsonville site began, no evidence of a jail was found. Digital recreations were based on the jail built in Powhatan in 1873. Between late 1815 and mid-1817, the land of Davidsonville was surveyed by James Boyd. After the survey, the town consisted of 35 acres. The layout of the town was a grid pattern with 9 blocks of land around a central public square with 4 interior streets. Each of the 9 blocks was then further divided into 6 plots, for a total of 48 plots along its 9 blocks. Davidsonville was the first county seat, but it also quickly became the site of another Arkansas first, the first platted town. Once the survey began and settlement started, the town became a center of political and commercial activity. On June 28, 1817, the first United States postal stop in Arkansas was established in Davidsonville, with Adam Ritchie as the town's first postmaster. The post office was built on Plot 9 in Block B. Davidsonville was by no means the first town to have a post office in the United States, as the U.S. Congress had established them as late as the 1700s. The creation of a postal stop, however, was important as it brought people from the town from surrounding areas. Davidsonville was on postal route 407, which ran mail from St. Louis to Arkansas Post. The post office was excavated to reveal a continuous foundation of limestone blocks, 50 feet by 26 feet. The post office included a chimney and a fireplace made of bricks. This would have been the oldest known brick fireplace built in Arkansas. The post office would have appeared more like a tavern or a residence than any modern post office today, and it is possible that it also served as an inn for visitors. Davidsonville is an Arkansas town. In February of 1819, a bill was introduced to the United States House of Representatives to create the Arkansas Territory. The bill passed in the House on February 22nd and in the Senate on March 1st. The measure was approved by President Monroe on March 2nd, 1819. Thus, Arkansas Territory was established. Lawrence County and Davidsonville with it were incorporated into Arkansas. The organization of the Arkansas Territorial Government began on July 4th, 1819. Although Arkansas was just being born, Davidsonville was growing up fast. Construction on the town's courthouse began in 1819 in the town's central public square. In March of 1820, Arkansas's first land office was created in Davidsonville. The following spring, in 1821, the spring court session was held in Jacob Garrett's Tavern in Davidsonville on Lot 35. Jacob Garrett's Tavern was a 2-story double-pen dog trot building where visitors of Davidsonville could stay. It was convenient for those in town for court, as Lot 35 directly faced the courthouse. The storage pit below the floor revealed artifacts from numerous visitors. A cotton gin owned by Joseph Hardin began operations on lots 4 and 5 around this time. Based on iron fragments found on lot 23, it is believed that William Drope owned and or operated a blacksmith shop in Davidsonville, which also would have began operations around 1820. The population at this time was estimated to be the home of over 450 people, but that number fluctuated depending on court sessions. The courthouse was completed by 1822. The courthouse was a 2-story brick on stone foundation building, likely modeled after similar early 19th century courthouses found in Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky. It was 24 by 32 feet in size and had a hipped roof, a cupola, which is a dome-like structure on the top of the roof which brings in light or air through vents and windows, and a central entry. The bottom floor of the courthouse was paved with double-sided bricks. A courtroom, complete with space for a judge, a witness box, a jury, and public seating, would have been on the courthouse's second floor. This was a common feature of early courthouses. In 1824, at least one Davidsonville resident had learned to capitalize on the town's proximity to waterways. Boats were already in use at Davidsonville, bringing supplies and products from markets in St. Louis and New Orleans, yet these often carried supplies and not people. Joseph Hardin, who acted as the Lawrence County Sheriff of the time, received a license in 1824 to keep a public ferry on the Black River. For a trip on the ferry, Hardin charged a man and a horse 25 cents, a man or a horse 12.5 cents, sheep or hogs 6.25 cents, a wagon and a team of no more than 2 horses $1, and any carriage with 2 horses 50 cents. This was not the first ferry of its kind near Davidsonville, as mentions of a ferry crossing the Spring River first appeared between 1816 and 1818. The demise of Davidsonville. By 1825 and 1826, things were starting to take a turn in Davidsonville. Repairs on the courthouse had been ordered, signaling that while the town had a strong start, even its strongest structures were falling apart fast. As I previously mentioned, rivers and waterways were essential for the growth of any town at this time. Davidsonville was specifically chosen as Lawrence County's seat because it had access to 3 close-by rivers. Yet the decision for Davidsonville's location, based on its proximity to water, was not well thought out. Because Davidsonville was flanked on 3 sides by water, when the rivers flooded in the spring, the only way to pass through the town was on its northern border. In times of flood, the town was almost completely isolated by swampy waters. This slowed migration in and out of the town and disrupted transportation routes. It also slowed information in and out of the town. The mail route from St. Louis to Davidsonville to Arkansas Post and then on to Louisiana was completed on horseback, and the journey took roughly a month. With the added barrier of spring floods in Davidsonville on top of other unwelcome hardships along the route, such as wild animals, robbers, and unfriendly natives, the route was often difficult to navigate. Additionally, as other towns in Arkansas began to rise, Davidsonville's title as the first town with a post office began to lack significance. The second post office in Arkansas quickly followed Davidsonville at Arkansas Post in 1817. Little Rock had gained a post office in 1820, and after that, post stops in areas like Batesville, Pine Bluff, and Fayetteville all began to rise up during the 1820s. One of the most crushing blows to Davidsonville was its location on the Southwest Trail, or rather its location not on the Southwest Trail. Davidsonville was never really on the trail, but on a spur of the trail. As the trail moved closer to the Ozark Mountains to avoid the difficult-to-navigate areas of the Delta, Davidsonville became less and less important as a fixture of Lawrence County. Other nearby towns, closer to the trail, grew up faster and were more sustainable than Davidsonville. In 1829, the Lawrence County seat was moved to Jackson, a town 8 miles northwest of Davidsonville. This lessened the political importance of Davidsonville both within the county and within the state. At the time, the U.S. Land Office was moved to Batesville, roughly 50 miles southwest. The significance of Davidsonville began waning quickly, as did its population. Many of the residents of Davidsonville flocked to Jackson and Batesville as trade and political activity blossomed there. In 1821, Henry Schoolcraft published the first written description of the Ozark region of Arkansas. The accounts were based on an exploration he did in November 1818 to February 1819. His tour included the interior of Arkansas and Missouri. Schoolcraft described Davidsonville as of little note or importance at the present. Regardless of whether or not Schoolcraft's view of Davidsonville was accurate in 1819, it was certainly true by 1829, and by 1830, the town was just a memory. Popular theory and local legends suggest that the Davidsonville population decline was the result of an epidemic of smallpox, yellow fever, cholera, some other similar contagious disease. The few remaining of survivors in Davidsonville were then thought to have burned the town and fled. But there's no evidence to support that claim. In all likelihood, the people of Davidsonville didn't die of some mysterious disease, but simply up and left. Many of the buildings in Davidsonville were probably dismantled, if possible, and taken to be used elsewhere. Much of the remaining evidence of the town was washed away by time and by nature. 15 years. Davidsonville only lasted 15 years. All of the factors that should have made Davidsonville successful, like its access to waterways, its closeness to trade routes, its having the first post office, the first land office, the first county seat, actually ended up being the same things that killed the town. The water made the town flood, and it made it hard to navigate. Its closeness to trade routes, well, there were other closer towns. It's having the first post office, the first land office, being the county seat. Those were all quickly moved. Davidsonville just wasn't as important. In 1957, the site of Davidsonville and the surrounding land was designated as Davidsonville Historic State Park in present-day Pocahontas, Arkansas. Much of what is now known about Davidsonville was only discovered through archaeological excavations conducted by the Arkansas Archaeological Survey in 1979 and from 2004 to 2009. Now, when you visit one of Arkansas's first towns, there are no taverns or courthouses, there's not a cotton gin, there's no public square, There's no people walking the streets. There are just two metal structures showing what once was. A half-mile trail takes visitors down gravel paths throughout the land of the town, and the rest of it, it's just grass. Walking around Davidsonville, it's peaceful, and although it's quiet now, if you listen closely, and you really, really try, you can almost hear the ghosts of the past.